Welcome to Energy Innovations, a regular video series that explores the latest innovations in technology, digital, regulations, products, services, finance, and business models that are impacting the energy sector. Energy Innovations interviews entrepreneurs, energy companies, capital markets, and regulators to understand how the energy industry is changing.
Welcome back to Energy Innovations. My name is Geoffrey Cann, and today we're going to discuss the world of broadly platform technologies and platform solutions and how these are evolving to create new business models for energy products and services. And I'm very pleased today to be joined by David Lod, who is the CEO of Veerum, a company based in Calgary, Alberta, that is a specialist in this area. David, welcome to Energy Innovations.
Yeah, Geoffrey, thrilled to be here again. So thanks for having me.
And now you and I met, I think shortly after you took the reins at Veerum, probably 2 or 3 years ago now. Yeah, and if you don't mind, let's just wind back a little bit here about the Veerum story, because I'm sure you're across it, and just share a little bit about what Veerum is and what it's about. That'll help us then frame the context for a conversation about platform systems.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the first time we met in person was actually at a PTAC conference, so the Petroleum Technology Association, where I presented as well, and you were in the audience. But yeah, the backstory on Veerum. So Veerum's been a company headquartered in Calgary, Alberta for just over 7 years now, and I took over as CEO 3 years ago. And what Veerum does, we're a software company, and what we do is we unify all of our clients, call it disparate data silos, to drive a lot of value for them across operations and maintenance, the construction phase, full asset lifecycle. And what we do is we bring in their engineering models. So these are your 2 and 3D CAD files. And then we bring in all their geospatial data. So this is your laser scans, your drone flights, photogrammetry, and we marry those two together so you can actually see reality site conditions against what you originally intended to build or construct. And then we link in existing document management systems. So imagine in video game mode, you could fly to, Fort McMurray, Alberta, or anywhere in the world for that matter. And then, fly right through the wall of one of your facilities, click on a pump, and now you've got the relevant data, which could be warranty information, an operating manual. And then the final missing piece is your real-time operating data. So this is your SCADA information. This could be IoT sensors. So what Veerum has done is we've created a single pane of glass. So there's no requirement for software or hardware, just off your laptop or your tablet. Visit any of your facilities anywhere around the world and look at all of that data, unified and aggregated together.
And so the innovation here is on several fronts when you think about it. One is the single pane of glass as a construct, the ability to really interact with facility through a single screen, pulling all these systems together. But when you meet with customers and walk them through this, what do they flag as the innovation, the thing that really startles them, and they say, "Wow, that's really innovative"?
Well, I think, all of our clients, whether they're in the oil and gas sector or, in any of the large industrial spaces, so mining, utility, large scale manufacturing, they're all on a digital journey right now. They need to find a way to reduce their OPEX budgets in operating, maintaining these facilities. And the only way that they're going to be able to do that is with the adoption of the right technology so that they can work more productively, work safer, and also hit those targets that they have related to GHG and ESG initiatives as well. So changing the jobs to be done in a matter of leveraging technology is what we're allowing them to do. So in the cases with Imperial Oil, as an example, they're seeing 33% productivity gains in their remote maintenance planning because it's reducing the requirements for them to go on site. What traditionally took them, 5 hours and 4 disparate systems to collect the data in order to make these maintenance plans for their organization is now taking them 20 minutes just by using Veerum. So we're changing a lot of job functions for our clients, and they're all on a digital journey, right? So we get to accelerate for them, which is great.
So the wave of digital change has been part of the accelerant here. But you know, this situation of multiple silos of information, multiple systems, this has existed in the industry forever. So what has happened that suddenly compels organizations to say, you know, we can do this a better way? I mean, the price of oil today is not the driver. It's just at $100 a barrel. There's not much incentive to go and fix old systems. You just make more money by pumping more oil or pushing it through your existing system. So what's changed here? Is it the pandemic? Is it regulation, or is it just new management, new thinking?
Yeah, I think there's a few drivers. So, you know, Veerum, we tripled our business when oil was $0, if we remember that, catastrophic event for the industry, as well as we had a global pandemic that kicked off only a month prior to that event as well. And so the change is coming in a few folds. One, companies are starting to see right from the CEO level and down that data is incredibly valuable to an organization to make the right data informed decisions. And it's not just looking at data, you know, as an example, you may have laser scans of your facilities. Those standing alone may not have a great return on investment or might not be incredibly valuable. But when you start to add in, you know, your CAD information, your real-time operating data, and you start to digitize different aspects of your business, you get these exponential returns by starting to stack these technologies and these processes together on that digital vision. And, you know, we could tell you that everybody's interested in doing this, and they've seen the returns. Like, we have clients that say 15 to 40 times ROI on the investment with Veerum by going this way. So the math is there for sure, because you have to have the economics that hold up. You know, where we're at right now in regards to cloud computing, a solution like Veerum's fundamentally 10 years ago couldn't have existed and been able to scale. So because we've got clients over that cloud hurdle, they can consume and use these digital products as well. And then you've got this wave of, whether it's the millennial workforce or a younger workforce, that are demanding the use of digital tools going forward, right? So spreadsheets and 2D textual information is not attractive for new talent to come and work with. So the companies need to roll up their sleeves, make these investments, which have the proven economic value. But if they're going to attract and retain top talent, the talent wants these tools as well.
Yeah. Young people, I think, I mean, they can vote with their feet now, because there's much more opportunity with the wave of retirement of more the older workforce, the baby boomer generation. There isn't enough coming in behind them to sustain the old ways of working. So young people have their choice. I think it's a really important point that companies don't often think about.
And a big piece here is as you look at, you know, the workforce that's retiring or exiting, you know, these industrial sectors as well, the tribal knowledge that some of these individuals have in plant operations, you know, how things work, it's going to go out the door. So the only way to preserve that is to change, you know, workflows, processes, and adopting these digital tools to keep that in the organization as individuals leave. So it's really it's a massive risk mitigation strategy as well.
Yeah, it's really powerful concept. Now, this is, if this was easy to do, aside from having cloud computing in place, but if this was easy to do, we would have cracked this sooner. What makes this hard to do? What is the hard problem that Veerum is cracking through, or indeed many of these platform tools that really make it a barrier to companies if they want to try and do something like this on their own?
Yeah, great question. So we kind of look at there's four primary pillars here, or challenges to adopting any new type of technology. Really, one is Are the economics there to prove an ROI? So we've knocked that silo down. Can the technology actually do what you say it's going to do? And certainly we've knocked that down. Is there any regulatory challenges? None that exist right now for us in that capacity. And the final one is just cultural within an organization. So it becomes, how do you get people to change the way that they're working to do their jobs differently and more effectively? That is the biggest hurdle. It's none of the other ones anymore. So, we have to help show how jobs can be done differently and more effectively with people who have done it the same way for the last 20 or 30 years in some cases, right?
Yeah.
And that is the big hurdle. So it's coming. Everyone's at the early stages here of digital adoption, right? In a few areas, but the gains can be so massive. But it's just that those leaps that we have to take together. And then once you change that job, you have to ask the question to the individuals that are doing it differently now. Do you want to go back to the same way you did it before? And the answer has to be no, absolutely not. This is far more slick. This is easier. This is safer.
Yeah.
And we're proving that out, right? So that whole adoption is coming very rapidly for us.
Have any of your customers, on this sort of observation I would make about change and change management, have any of your customers flagged anything specifically they're doing that has proven to be very valuable in helping their employees over the hurdle of adoption?
Yeah, with any sort of change management, you have to have full leadership or executive buy-in and to commit, say this is what we are doing. Otherwise you're just going to get a bunch of people standing still and not interested. There's always going to be individuals that are adverse to that change, so you have to have that buy-in. So where we've had the most success is where we've had executive sponsorship for adoption, right? Which is really key to any change, regardless of it being technology or a process play, right?
Well, with this kind of technology, though, is impacting so many jobs, that executive sponsorship better be high up in the organization, because it has that sort of that impact. Are you seeing it truly is C-suite, CEO level, or senior vice president level? Is that what's required to help try and drive the adoption?
Yeah, I think we specifically go and speak to, let's call it the asset owner, right? At the end of the day, who owns the operations of that refinery or that power plant, and they own the budget, right, to continue with operations. So you've got these competing forces for them. When you look at, you've got a reducing operational budget. That is their challenge. And you've got an aging facility. So the cost to maintain is going up and your OpEx budgets are going down. So how are you going to address that?
Jaws of death.
It has to be technology, right? That's where you're going to uncouple some of this. So the buy-in at the top has to happen. But we're seeing a lot of excitement right at the front line, that people in the field, even business analysts that see that we can unlock a lot of these challenges that they're having to work differently. So the sponsorship at the top is critically important, but the adoption and power users at the bottom are really stewarding a lot of this success.
One of the innovations that's happening in the call it the B2C world, business to consumer world, is the evolving metaverse notion of a virtual world. But when you characterize the sourcing of these silos of data about industrial process, industrial complex, and putting that into a single pane of glass, and then providing you the ability to fly through it, I'm visualizing an industrial metaverse. Is the industry thinking along those lines? Like, are you also visualizing how this kind of capability creates a fundamentally different way to engage with assets in a metaverse kind of model?
Yeah, you've absolutely nailed it. So I just wrote an article a couple of weeks ago specifically on this industrial metaverse, and this is exactly what is happening. we've been in this play for the last 7 years. So when you hear it come from, the Facebooks of the world, where they're going to change the way the internet is consumed and more of an immersive play, that's exactly what we've already been doing in the industrial space. So we've gamified and allowed that video game style application to exist when you're operating, maneuvering, going through your industrial assets or your pipelines or whatever that may be. So the technology is there and it exists. We have VR capabilities. It's a single click within our application, and somebody with their VR goggles can go through and navigate in that type of capacity. So it will become more immersive. And it's not just a twin of your facility, it's an augmented version, right? So just think of it as if you had a twin brother and he had all the bells and whistles from a technology perspective, where his heart rate was monitored, and then it would set up his appointment at the doctor if there was anything, and it would determine the lead times, and it could balance everything that your twin needed. That's where this is going to go in an industrial capacity. So imagine it'll be linked right through to your supply chain, to the point where if a light bulb is out in a certain hallway, it's going to trigger a purchase order and a requisition to have that replaced and ordered and put in. And that's the simplicity, a basic case, but that's where the industry is going to go. And it's going to link right from supply chain all the way through to operations, to shutdowns and turnarounds, and capital construction. And it's all about the data, right? It's about having that golden thread and preserving the data points to drive out the maximum value of those.
You've touched on a number of innovations, actually, as kind of characterizing that. You mentioned virtual reality, you mentioned gamification. This implies a kind of a convergence phenomenon happening. Are there other technologies out there, digital or otherwise, which you keep an eye on because of the potential impact they may have on this evolving future? I mean, blockchain comes to mind as one example, robotics, but what else is out there that's of real interest, given that you're in the world of building this kind of future world?
Yeah, I think there's going to be, if you look at the overall market, so you look at robotics, you look at, call it just, laser scanning technologies, you're going to see industrial process controls, you're going to see the large ERP players as well. All of these have basically an overlap in this end game, where you're going to see massive amalgamation across these industries, over the next decade or so as well, because you need all of these areas to really drive the end point of this digital transformation that's going to happen. So one thing, we look as an example. So 5 years ago, the ability to get a high resolution laser scan could have, it could have cost a company maybe $30,000 to $100,000 to get a facility.
Yeah.
Where this is going to go is on my iPhone today, I've got LiDAR capabilities already built in. So when you think about the technology and sort of, the exponential possibilities of just laser scanning, you're going to get permanently affixed little laser dots through your facility, and you're going to get real-time high resolution laser scanning, because the cost is going to be so low and the technology is going to be so advanced that it's only going to propel solutions like Veerum forward, right? So the barriers to entry are dissolving, right?
There must be an ESG angle lurking in here. I think the one, there's a cost to just get eyes on a facility. So if I know the common model in the industry today, if you don't have data about your facility, you send your most experienced engineer out to that facility, because they're the only ones who can look at it and say, all right, this is what I'm seeing, and I don't have to have catalogs of information. There's a carbon problem right there, because you've got someone on the road, not to mention safety. Where are there other carbon or other environmental benefits that come from the notion of a platform where you can place your data and create that single pane of glass effect?
Yeah, well, you hit on one, just travel to site.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. If you think of just, airplane ride, long truck ride, and the safety requirements there, so there's certainly a massive reduction that we can do just in reducing site visits. But The big waste, if you look in capital projects, and whether it's small project based, large greenfield, or shutdown and turnarounds, there's 30% of these projects have rework in the field schedule slip. And when you talk about rework in the field, that's a $1.6 trillion global issue of wasted resources, wasted equipment, materials management problems. By using a digital solution like Veerum, we give you the ability to have automated progress reporting, to digitally verify fit ups when it comes from prefabricated shops before you actually ship it. We can virtually assemble it in your existing facility and de-risk that project plan. The gains are massive that can happen just in the materials alone, just for that type of activity. And reduce site visits. There's a number of areas where data becomes incredibly powerful on that ESG journey.
Yeah, another angle lurking in here might be on the construction side. We have the pattern in the industry is stick build of facilities. If you can imagine a world where you place all of your supply chain on the one platform. Now I can build in my module yard in somewhere internationally, and Asia perhaps, Philippines or Indonesia, and then float my module to where I need to go with confidence that it'll actually fit, like when it arrives.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the notion here.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the use cases we're doing today with several LNG facilities, where these large modules, and they're the size of almost football fields in some cases, they're coming over massive in chunks from a boat overseas, to take a high resolution laser scan and virtually assemble it before it arrives for all of its tie-in points. And we're talking like with centimeter and sub-centimeter accuracy is incredibly valuable, because a lot of this stuff can't be field fitted or reworked, right? We've got like chromium carbide overlay tie-in points on spools, so we can de-risk that, and that's incredibly important.
Yeah, those of us of a certain age will remember one of the oil sands facilities was floated up the Columbia River and then intended to be trucked up to northern Alberta, and the modules needed to be cut apart because they wouldn't actually work on the highway. You could see where, if you had, again, back to embracing the broader vision, the platform coupled with environmental data like road systems, now you can begin to visualize whether or not you're going to have problems trying to get your gear up a highway, around corners, under bridges. These sorts of things now become within reach. Are people thinking about that? Because you're way beyond just running my plant. Now you're well into constructability, my P6 plan, my equipment availability to do lifts. That's a bigger problem, but feels like it's within reach here.
Yeah, well, just on site as an example. So it doesn't necessarily need to be just a facility, but if you just think of like the materials lay down yards, and can I get a crane of a certain size between certain buildings? So now you can digitally drop a crane or a certain footprint, and you can see, can this maneuver appropriately? Are the doors big enough to take these things? So clients are using that already. And other use cases with digital technology and with Veerum is just think of like right-of-ways for pipelines and or vegetation encroachment that gets coming towards utility poles. Yeah. You could fly a helicopter with a laser scanner on the bottom of it, as an example, give us that data, and then fly it again in a month, and we'll be able to tell you exactly where vegetation encroachments come within that 5-meter safety line, or if there's a dip in tension between power poles. It's all data informed, right? Versus sort of doing that visual inspection and looking and measuring. You can do this at scale and at pace and improve your outcomes.
Yeah, with better quality data. It always just keeps coming back to having the right data with the right analytics. What's your sense of the maturity of this industry? Given that data is that critical, what is the maturity of the oil and gas industry in managing its data resources and its data assets? Are we good? Are we average? Where would you flag us?
Yeah, and that we've got some clients I'd say that are doing very well in the maturity curve, and they've made the investments. But then we have other clients where I'd say they're 10 years behind their peers, in similar industries. And the organization of an asset information management system and all the detail behind it is important, right? To get it kind of structured and organized. But what we tell our clients is if you're planning to solve your data issue first, whether it could be SAP and organization and getting it all organized, and then coming down this digital journey, of asset visualization, you're doing it backwards because you need to see what you don't have first and then start to collect and organize it. You'll be waiting for a decade to get things the way you want it, and it'll never be perfect. You've got to jump in now, see what you have, and then start to organize, structure it, get it, complete. But the data is everywhere. And in most cases, clients have more than they think they do. We had a client with $9 million of high resolution laser scanning of their facility sitting on an external hard drive in a field shop that they had collected over the course of years. They didn't know existed until we brought the groups together. So they may already have what they need right now. And with us, with Veerum, the reason we've had some great uptake and interest is we're live in 48 hours, Geoffrey. So the second we have access to your geospatial and CAD data, we give you a production digital twin, and then we can link it in with OSI Pi, IBM Maximo, SAP, and enrich it over time. But kind of gone are the days of 6 months of implementation to figure out an ROI and a big heavy lift and multi-million dollars of project management. These digital tools start now, right? 48 hours and you're up and running. That's a massive step in time to value and pace.
Yeah, I think one of the you probably haven't mentioned this, but because I many years ago was a software developer. The integrations between the industrial tool sets that are out there, Maximo is one example. Once you've built that integration for one organization, you can reuse that integration. So that high reusability is one of the things that gives this great acceleration effect. Are there other things that are sort of under the covers that create that kind of network effect where you've got high reusability and integrations? Integrations are one. What else is hidden under the covers there?
Yeah, and without giving away the secret sauce here, but
No.
So integrations at an API level is something that provides scale across all of our clients. So, IBM Maximo, you mentioned, that's out of the box for us, right? So a client, if they have that, that gets turned on, and all of a sudden now you've got a 3D view of your work order management system that you never had before. And it just changes the way people learn, changes the way they retain that information, and are able to make decisions. So it is an augmentation of the Maximo system to put it in a 3D application like Veerum. Same with SAP, right? Or ServiceMax, or any of those disparate data sets. They all hold something that's valuable to somebody's job. But when you bring it all together in that single pane of glass, that's the next way to do the job.
I think, real power there. And David, this has been a fascinating discussion about the art of this improvement to existing industrial process, enabling technologies, the power of cloud computing, the importance of data. If people want to learn more about Veerum, where might they turn?
Yeah, our website, Veerum.com. We have a number of educational videos. We have industry use cases. Yeah. And they can reach out and request, a demo or more information directly from the website. So yeah, we'd love to hear from the potential clients out there.
Brilliant. Thank you, David, for coming on Energy Innovations today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Geoffrey. Great to see you again.
This has been another episode of Energy Innovations, and I will return shortly with another episode. Bye for now.
Thanks for joining our latest interview on Energy Innovations from EnergyNow Media. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video. You can contact us at info@energynow.com to book your appearance or to become a sponsor.